Hey there everyone, I'm Matthew. I'm the creator of the upcoming indie game, The Feathered Serpent. You've read the title, so let's just get straight to the point. This is my first ever fully commercial project, and being so, my initial estimates and timeline for the game's release wasn't accurate. I know that last week I released a video saying that I was confident I could get done what I needed to get done for the release for today. I said that I was confident in my abilities to get done what I needed to get done. And I truthfully stand behind those words. I could have pushed through this weekend and I could have gotten the game to a releasable state, but that would have been a very buggy, untested, unpolished, and to be honest, a very lacking final product. But that release would not have been something that I would have been proud of. It would have been completely untested, buggy, potentially not even work, and very rushed. I've been working on this game for almost 4 years. Honestly, it's my baby, it's my dream game, and I've put my heart and soul into this, and I want the final release to be something that I'm proud of. That being said, I also fully recognize that this is a promised product. I promised a lot of people, you, all my followers here on YouTube, a lot of my subscribers on Twitch, a lot of my backers on Kickstarter, that I would have the game done by today. I recognize that not releasing it today probably lets down a lot of people. With that being said, no matter how I feel about the game, no matter where it's at, I will be releasing the game on June 4th. I understand that that is probably quite a bit longer than a lot of you were expecting, even for a delay. There are many carefully considered things that go into picking that new date that isn't just a few weeks off, but rather months off. The point of this video is to actually get into those reasons and let all of you know why I am choosing to delay this and why I didn't just pump out the product and why it's coming out in June and not just in a week later or 2 weeks later. But before I get lost in the sauce and delve into all of those reasons, I just want to say that I totally understand that some of you might be feeling let down, and it's honestly pretty BM of me to release this video the day the game was supposed to release instead of a week ago. Instead of a week ago releasing a video where I said, oh, I can totally get it out. I understand that that probably doesn't feel good and it feels like I'm letting you down, and I also feel that way, and I feel like I'm also letting myself down by pushing this release date out. I'm not trying to beat up on myself, right? I know that what I'm doing is the best decision for the game, it's the best decision for me, and it's the best decision for my family and for my wife moving forward to push back this release date. I know it's just gonna make the game better, it's gonna make the release better, and it's gonna potentially make the rest of my life a lot better because I know it's gonna improve the chances of success that my game has. For those of you who were expecting a game today, I just want you to know that I, moving forward, am offering anyone who backed the Kickstarter, who is looking forward to and expecting the project today, free beta access. If you want to play the game in its current state, please reach out to me via Kickstarter and I will send you a code to participate in that beta access. This is also a great thing because it means I'm going to get more people to be able to test out my game and potentially find more bugs and give me more input and feedback on how I can make the game better. I hope that at least in part that makes up for the delay, especially for a lot of you who put money behind this project and believed in me and supported me through this process. That's the gist of the message, everyone. For those of you who would like to stick around in this video, I will be going just into a little more depth explaining some of the bigger reasons, a lot more of the details behind this decision. If you just are more concerned about what the game looks like right now, where the game's at, I am going to have a devlog. You know what, I'll put it right here. You can go and watch the newest devlog. That's going to focus way more on gameplay. The rest of this video is just going to be talking about the reasons that I chose to delay the game. And as of today, Monday the 25th, I have updated the beta, so it will have the final boss fight, or at least what is there for the final boss fight, and the 5th area primed and ready for testing, so all of you can test that out and see what it's like. Alright, so here are the 3 main reasons why I decided to ultimately delay the Feathered Serpent, which, let me tell you, it wasn't a hasty decision. I thought about it all weekend and I was going back and forth on it. First reason, it would be a rushed product. It would not be fully polished, it would not be completely bug-free and bug-tested, and it would not include all of the Kickstarter content. The second reason is you only get one launch day on Steam. There's only ever one time your game officially launches. And to be frank, my game was not ready to launch, and my Steam page was not ready to launch. Third reason was impacts on my personal health and relationships. So let's talk about point 1. The game would be rushed and incomplete. Now, this is going to be more rambly. I'm just going to be looking over to the right and looking at the notes that I wrote down, and I'm just going to talk through this, okay? So, if you went and you watched the devlog that I pointed to earlier, you probably saw that while the final area is complete, it's full of bugs, even still. A lot of it's untested. There's a lot of kind of weird interactions. While it works, there's definitely some polish that can go into the enemies and into the areas themselves. Also, there's been no one who's beta tested that area yet. I hadn't put out a release for beta testers to test out, so that was completely untested. So who knows what kind of bugs are there. In fact, just filming footage for the devlog, I encountered a game-breaking bug that just crashed my game. So that's not good. The save system. So you can save and load my game, but there's no way for me to update my game and have it update your save file. So what does that mean? It means if I put in a new achievement or I put in a new item, there's no way for you to access that without it breaking your game. It doesn't update the save file. It's essentially checking, like if I add in a new tomato item and it pulls up your save file list, it's not checking for tomato and subsequently the game crashes. And so I need a way to update the save file, and I haven't figured one out yet, and the game would have launched without that being a thing. So that would have been something I had to work through. As I mentioned earlier, my game was missing Kickstarter rewards. Now this is partially due to people getting back to me kind of late or still trying to iron out details with some of the Kickstarter backers, but there are still Kickstarter backers who haven't even gotten back to me about what they want as for their game. In fact, I believe it was just last week that I got feedback on one of my Kickstarter bosses, and I have to go in a different direction with it, which is fine. But it's those things that I just was planning on launching and then patching them in later patches. And so the game wasn't complete with all the stuff in the Kickstarter. It didn't have the secret skeleton boss fight that was unlocked via stretch goals. It didn't have the late game challenges, the altar challenges. So it was lacking a lot of things that were promised in the Kickstarter simply because I didn't have time to put them in yet. In fact, there were entire NPCs that I wasn't able to finish in time. There was a lack of resolution within the story and just the whole storytelling in general. I really liked how I set up the game and the first few interactions in the game, but then it just feels like there's kind of nothing for the rest of the game. And I really wanted to change that and bring in more storytelling, more cutscenes, and I didn't have time to do that, and that's something I really want to do in my game, is to have that overarching storytelling that is present within games like Hades. Lastly, I had progression problems. So the more you play the game, the more things unlock, and I have no idea how those things feel. So for example, there's these blue flying enemies in the first area. They give everyone a hard time. I made it so that you have to at least kill the first boss one time before those blue flying enemies even start spawning. And I think that was a really good decision. But moving forward, I didn't do that for any of the other areas. There's kind of only progression like that in the first area. And on top of that, I had no achievements tied into my game. My game would have been launching with no Steam achievements. Sure, my game had unlocks, but even then, it didn't even have all the unlocks that I wanted. So there's a lot of things missing in the progression, and I think that's one thing that's really important for a roguelike, is really nailing the progression of your game. That's the thing that keeps people playing and coming back and wanting to unlock more. It's what keeps people feeling like the game is fresh, and it keeps throwing new things at you. And so that's a very important thing that I want to nail down. All right, let's delve into point number 2. The launch/Steam page was not ready. Now, don't get me wrong. There comes a point where you just got to launch a project or a product. So, for example, with the Kickstarter, the page wasn't anywhere near where I wanted it to be. And sure, I could have worked on it for many more months, but, I just had to send it. You just have to go with things sometimes. Even with my stream, I could have spent, weeks, preparing my stream and adding all these things to it. But I just started streaming, and I just went from there. There are some things where definitely you just got to go. But, and this happened to me on my last stream of last week, I ended my raid, and I raided this other game developer. He goes by JMC Morris on Twitch. He's actually releasing a game this week, I think in 2 days, called AutoForge, which looks sick. You should check it out. But he has been a full-time indie game developer for 7 years. His first project was a commercial success. It was so successful, he actually has had the ability to hire other people on to help him with his current project that he's been working on for 7 years, by the way. Full-time solo indie dev. He's not solo because he's working with one other person, but full-time indie dev. Basically, this man was living my dream. And so I took the time to talk with him and interact with him and ask him, hey, I'm launching my game soon. What are your tips? What are your pointers? And he pointed me in the direction of someone called Chris Zukowski. Really famous game marketer, has given plenty of speeches at GDC. He has plenty of resources available online for people to look at. And just lightly engaging with his content and seeing what he recommends games do, it was just a slap in the face. It was a huge wake-up call, a reality check for me in regards to my game's marketing, and my Steam page and my launch. And quite frankly, it was not acceptable. It was very lacking. If I had launched my game today, the launch would have been a very small blip on the radar that is the gaming community and the Steam community. It would not have the reach and the impact or the sales that I would have needed to fulfill my dream and to make the game the best that it can be. The game's success and how many people it reaches directly correlates with how much better I can make the game. If my game sells thousands or hundreds of thousands of copies, I can funnel that money back into the game and release content updates and hire people to do music and art. There's so much that I can do to improve the game. And so this is an important thing. This is pivotal for making not only this game a success, but in order to get to the point that JMC Morris was at and being an indie developer full time. This is important. Quite frankly, the launch of this project is something that can completely change the trajectory of my life. If I have a successful launch, that's everything. And in Steam's eyes, you only get one launch. So you got to do it right. With all that being said, what are these issues with the launch day, with the launch page? What am I actually aiming for? What was actually wrong with it? Very interesting. Very good question. One thing that I need to give myself time to do that is top priority on this list for your Steam page is translating it into other languages. Your game won't even appear in other countries if the Steam page isn't translated into their language. So even if my game isn't translated into that language, that doesn't matter. I need the Steam page to be translated into Spanish, into Chinese, into French, into as many languages as I can, so that it can go and access a much wider variety and a much wider audience. That alone could 10x the success of my game. There's also just issues with marketing and marketing the launch of this game. In fact, I guarantee some of you watching this video did not even know the game was supposed to launch today. I had my own Twitch subscribers who kind of watch me every day. Some of them didn't even know that I was supposed to launch today. So there are Kickstarter backers, there are YouTube followers, there are people who didn't even know the game was supposed to launch today. And I know that I can do better about marketing my launch day moving forward, about making it known, about in preparing for it. I know I can do better than what I've been doing, because quite frankly, I've been doing the bare minimum, and as a result, I think I've been getting the bare minimum of benefit from that. Lastly, there are just things that I can always improve and work on. The game trailer, the GIFs that are within my Steam page, how I word my Steam page, reaching out to streamers, having a real marketing plan, having multiple different trailers that feature different aspects. So many things I can do moving forward, even if it is just a month or a month and a half, that will definitely help not only the Steam page, but also just marketing the game and getting it out there to more people and having a successful launch day. I currently have around 750 wish lists. They recommend having around 7,000. I don't think I'm going to hit that number, but I know I can at least get close. I know that I can do better when it comes to marketing my game and getting those wish lists. Okay, point number 3, and this is a huge one for me. My own personal health and personal relationships. I wrote a huge block here, but I'm pretty sure I can just wing this one. The past 3 months, I have been working crazy hours. I have been putting in at least 10 hours a day, working weekends, and I've loved it. I've loved working that much. I love working on my game. I don't feel burnt out. It's just been nothing but the most fun. And especially this past month and these past weeks, I've been even going further because I've had to pick up a job, right? The Kickstarter funds have run out and I've had to go back to work. But after work, I've been getting on and working until like 11:30 at night. Just this past week, there was a day where I woke up at like 7 o'clock, got to work. I think my work starts at 7:30. So I wake up, get ready, go to work. I came home, I worked until 11:30 at night, and then I went to bed. That's just nonstop work all day. Like there's no breaks, there's no time for anything else. That's just working and then coming home and working. So I'm working myself like crazy. That's fine. But then you look at what cost is that happening? I'm working all the time, but at what cost? Well, the chores have started piling up. You know, I looked over the dishes. They're getting really high. I have dirty laundry scattered throughout all of my house. Every room in my house is dirty. All the bathrooms are dirty. My bird's own bird cage it reeked. It smelled so bad. I hadn't been cleaned in weeks. All of these other things that are important just fell by the wayside. On top of that, you can't work that many hours, which I even had days where I'd stay up until like 3 in the morning, and then I would wake up at 7 and go to work and come home and work. You can't do that normally. I was pounding energy drinks. I remember sitting back, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, and I just looked at my desk, and there was 4 monsters on my desk. And I was like, dang, like, I was not taking care of my health. I wouldn't take the time to cook food, because that takes time. I would just buy crap, unhealthy, fast food, come home, eat it quick, and then work on my game. And so my health, like, plummeted. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was eating horribly. I was just ingesting gross amounts of caffeine. Like, that's just not good for me personally. Obviously. And especially this past week, I did crazy things to try and hit this release date. I skipped my therapy that I usually go to every week so I could work on the game. I canceled so many events with my friends. It just sucked. It's one thing for me personally to do that to myself, to overwork myself and to live in a messy house and to let everything go. But it's a whole other thing when it affects other people, when it has started to affect my friends And when it started to especially affect my wife, I mean, she had no time to spend with me, and the time she did get to spend with me, like, it was half an hour of me being cranky and tired and going to bed. And that's not fair to her. It's not fair to her to live in a house that is full with chores that I'm not doing because I'm spending all my time working. It's not fair to do that to my pregnant wife. That one definitely hurt the most and made me self-reflect the most. And quite frankly, there's a lot of guilt and shame involved with that, with just letting all of that go. I mean, I hadn't even taken my wife out on a date in months. That's just not it. Like I said, it's one thing to do that if it's just you, but when it starts affecting another person, like, my wife didn't sign up for that. Like, my wife isn't cool not having her partner. My wife isn't cool having no chores being done. Like, that's not fair to her at all. Even if that's something I'm okay with, like, that's not something she's okay with. That's not something that I would feel comfortable doing to her. And when you're married with someone, like, there's a partnership. It's not just me anymore. It's me and her. We're a unit. And I regret to say I think I lost sight of that. And so this is a good weekend to kind of like refocus on that and kind of get my priorities straight and say, you know what? When it comes to my game or my YouTube followers or my Twitch subscribers or any of you or my wife, the answer should always be my wife. And I think I need to start living that way. So, got all of that off my chest. Those are the three things that all kind of came together and made me choose to delay the Feathered Serpent. Needless to say, this is a very awkward and uncomfortable video to make, and it's kind of been painful, especially putting in all this effort and then just moving the date back. It's like, dang, why did I pull all those all-nighters? Why did I do that to myself? Like, it's definitely was not something that I wanted to do. I've already seen like an outpouring of support and understanding from friends, but also just from supporters and followers and subscribers. So thank you guys. I know that all of you are more than understanding. You're so supportive of me in this project, and that's more than I ever could have hoped for. This is so cool that I do have a community that is willing to give me the space and support that I need to make the best game that I can. And I just thank you guys, genuinely. All the personal messages, all the comments, all the support. Like, I struck gold with the people who have followed and supported me in this project. Like, genuinely, you guys are awesome. I just want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate those of you who follow and subscribe to me on YouTube. I appreciate those of you who tune into my streams and subscribe to me on Twitch, even though my streaming schedule is crazy right now and it's probably never going to go back to how it was. I'm very grateful for the memories that we made, for the support. I'm grateful for the people in my Discord, for my beta testers. I'm grateful for all of the people who support me on Patreon and who have for years. All of you have propped me up and allowed me to make something that I never could have made by myself, that I never could have done. And that's something special, and I want all of you to know that I think you're awesome. I appreciate you and what you've done for me and allowed me to do. I'd love to hear from all of you in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. I know that this has been a longer video, but I'd love to hear from you. And moving forward, you know what? Like I said, I'm pretty hard set on this date of June 4th. I'll see you guys next week for an update and another devlog. Thank you.